My name's Jesse, and I spent 19 years in prison. And today I want to talk about the dog program that I saw change more lives than any other program over all those years. This is me and Quinn the Dog back in 2020 before I got out of prison. He was kind of the resident dog in chief at Buckingham Correctional Center, which had what was called the Pen Pal program, which took abused and neglected dogs that were considered unadoptable and paired them with incarcerated people who'd been trained to help retrain the dog, as well as to give the love and affection, basically whatever it needed to be able to heal so it could move forward and become adoptable. And so it was broken animals being helped by broken people who were in turn being helped by broken animals. And the effect was profound. So I got to Buckingham in 2008 and immediately knew I wanted to be in this program because I saw one of the trainers walking a dog down the boulevard and getting and giving treats and doing tricks. And I was like, yeah, this is it. So I asked everybody, like, how do I do this? And they said, well, it's hard because you have to be in the honor pod. What do I have to do to go to the honor pod? They said, well, you have to be here for 2 years charge-free before you're even eligible to apply. I was like, well, that didn't, okay, fine. So I waited. I have to basically wait 2 years, have a job. And at that point, there were like 500 jobs for 1,150 people. Eventually, it went up to 600 jobs, and then one warden cut it back. Basically, half the people didn't have a job, or fewer people had jobs at any one time. And it was really frustrating. But after that 2 year period, I was able to sign up. I've been here 2 years. This is my date. Here's my information. And I asked people, like, okay, what's the waiting list? Like, how long is it going to be? And they said, well, it's anywhere from 5 to 15 years. It really just depends. And I didn't like this, but I was serving a 32-year sentence, so 5 to 15 years within the realm of what was possible. And the thing is, the honor pod is full of people who almost all have life sentences. So those people are either going to die in prison, they're going to be sent off to hospice, or they're going to be involuntarily transferred somewhere else, or rarely they're going to be released. They're going to get a parole, or they're not life without parole. They're just regular lifers under the old law. So the question was, well, how do you get in there? So I always talked to everybody. There was all kinds of tomfoolery going on in the records department where like people would like put in favors and call in favors. And I even had a boss try to call in a favor for me. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't believe in cutting in line. This is not the kind of politics I want to play. I don't want anybody to do that to me. I'm not doing it to them. So basically I ended up waiting. And there was some stuff that happened where like people got in before they were supposed to and out. But for the most part, the records department kept it straight and they wouldn't take those requests or whatever because there were so many issues around it. But finally, 10 years after I applied, 2 years after I'd gotten there, so 12 years total, I was moved into the honor pod. And I was so excited because this guy, Ronnie, who I worked maintenance with, he came to me, he's like, buddy, you ready to move? I thought he was joking. He was like, no, like seriously, dude, just packed up, like you're coming over tomorrow. And I was stoked, but the problem is even when I get into the honor pod, the 32 people out of the 1,150, there were only between 4 and 6 trainer positions. And so I got in there and I was like, okay, well, what do I have to do to get a trainer position? What does this look like? And the other thing is, I was at a level 3 institution. So I was at Nottoway from 2004 to 2008. I originally went in 2002, was in the jail or receiving up to that point. But my security level dropped about 4 or 5 years into my experience at Buckingham. Like I was supposed to go down to a level 2. The problem is the level 3 prisons were great. Like they were open. We had a dog program. We had rec all day. But you had a cell you could go back to. And we had an honor pod. Like most of the honor pods across the state had closed down or had double cell. It was one of the only places that had that. But I had gone down to a level 2 on the books, but I had always been looking to figure out how to maintain my place there. So for a couple of years, I had a counselor who just lost my paperwork, just intentionally didn't do it. And then they went to this automated, like multi-billion-dollar statewide system that was a disaster, but it would put these alerts up and his supervisor would get noticed if he hadn't done my annual review. So then I always tried to get an educational thing. I would be enrolled in a college class, or I'd be enrolled in the apprenticeship, or I'd be enrolled in something. So one of the things that kept me there was because I was in maintenance, I was enrolled in the apprenticeship. And so I had originally gone, it took 4 years, I got my journeyman's electrical license. And we were just really lucky because we had a teacher who actually did that. A lot of places did not, and a lot of places didn't really provide any kind of secondary education. But having that job then allowed me to go for my master's. So I could have been a master electrician, but I had to stay in the apprenticeship and I had to stay working maintenance. So it was like, okay, well, how do I do this? What I ended up doing was Jesse was actually, another guy named Jesse was the one who handled Quinn. And I was like, man, this is going to sound crazy, but can I just like hang out with Quinn? Can I just like walk him in the morning or do whatever? Some of the trainers were really tight. He was not. He was just like, man, like play with him, give him a treat, like rub his belly, like do whatever. So I took a picture with him. A lot of times he'd be out there. I would just play with him and the ball for hours. Like it was such a healing thing for me. And the other guys get the training, and I never did. So I would not be the best dog trainer as it is, but with the training and with the interest, I think I could have done a good job. But my experience was even passively, just being able to be around the dogs and have fun and play, and that made me feel so much better. I would get done, and I would just like lay on the picnic table outside, or I'd go back to my cell, and I would just feel this sense of like joy and warmth that I didn't feel in that place. Because rather than concrete and steel and hopelessness, it was playing with a dog. It was watching a dog who 6 weeks ago or 6 days ago was skitterish or was scared or was super aggressive, all of a sudden now being friendly and being open, knowing that dog is going to go to a good home. That just watching that, not even being directly a part of it, but just watching it was a powerful thing. That's why I think we really need to work to expand these dog programs. Any kind of animal care programs. I've seen it with cats, I've seen it with dogs, I've seen it with horses. Like equine therapy is a real thing. I think it was Arizona of all places, which has like one of the most backward correction systems, had this equine therapy program where people were going out and they were caring for the horses and they were actually getting therapy in the process. And what they found is their PTSD or their incidences of PTSD went down, their instances of aggression, their instances of, institutional infractions, all these things went down. I just think it's so important to have something where we're actually addressing people's needs and we're actually making sure they're able to leave prison a better person than they came in. At least leave prison with more of their needs met or more tools at their disposal. And so often that isn't the case, but this was one of those programs where I actually saw it made a significant difference.